Welcome to Magic Tale World, where every story comes alive with wonder. Let's open the book and begin our adventure together.
Hello, little dreamers, and welcome to our story corner. Are you all tucked in and ready for a magical adventure? Tonight, we're traveling to a faraway kingdom to hear a wonderful story called The Princess and the Pea. So, snuggle up, get cozy, and let your imagination take you away. Once upon a time, in a grand castle surrounded by sparkling rivers and lush green forests, lived a handsome prince. This prince had everything a person could wish for: a kind heart, a loving family, and a whole kingdom to call his own. But there was one thing missing from his life. He longed to find a true princess to be his wife. The prince traveled all over the world, searching high and low. He met many princesses, each one more dazzling than the last. There were princesses with hair like spun gold, princesses with eyes as blue as the summer sky, and princesses who could sing like nightingales. They were all lovely, but the prince always felt that something wasn't quite right. He would ask them questions and spend time with them, but he could never be certain if they were real princesses through and through. After a long and fruitless journey, the prince returned to his castle. Feeling quite downhearted, he sighed to his mother, the queen. "I've met so many, but how can I know for sure if one is a true princess?" One evening, a terrible storm raged outside the castle walls. The wind howled like a hungry wolf, the rain hammered against the windows, and thunder boomed so loudly it shook the very foundations of the castle. It was a dreadful night, not fit for anyone to be out. Suddenly, in the midst of the roaring storm, there was a loud knock at the castle gate. Kerthump, the old king himself, went down to see who could possibly be out on such a frightful night. When he opened the heavy wooden gates, he found a young lady standing there, looking completely drenched and forlorn. Rain streamed from her hair and clothes, running in rivulets from the tips of her shoes. She looked nothing like the polished princesses the prince had met on his travels. Yet, through her shivering and dripping state, she looked up at the king and said with a gentle voice, "I am a real princess." "Well, we'll soon find that out," thought the old queen, who had followed the king to the gate. She didn't say a word, but a clever idea began to form in her mind. She welcomed the girl inside with a warm smile, offering her dry clothes and a hot meal. The queen was very kind to her guest, but secretly she was planning a test. While the princess was warming herself by the fire, the queen went to prepare a bedroom for her. But this was no ordinary bedroom preparation. First, the queen went to the royal garden shed and found a tiny, single, dried pea. It was small and hard, hardly noticeable at all. She took this pea and placed it right in the center of the bedstead. Then the queen called for her servants. "Bring me all the mattresses we have," she commanded. The servants hurried to obey. They brought mattress after mattress, stacking them one on top of the other, right over the little pea. They stacked 20 thick mattresses. It was a tower of softness. But the queen wasn't finished yet. "Now," she said, "bring me 20 eider-down quilts." So, on top of the 20 mattresses, the servants piled 20 of the floofiest, softest eider-down quilts imaginable. The bed was now so tall that the princess would need a small ladder just to climb into it. When the bed was ready, The queen led the surprised princess to her room. "Here is where you will sleep tonight, my dear," she said with a sweet smile. "I hope you have a comfortable rest." The princess, seeing the mountain of a bed, was a little puzzled, but thanked the queen graciously. With the help of a ladder, she climbed all the way to the top and lay down, hoping for a good night's sleep after her ordeal in the storm. The next morning, the queen and the prince went to see their guest. "And how did you sleep, my dear?" the queen asked, trying to sound casual, but her eyes were full of curiosity. The princess looked very tired. She tried to smile politely, but it was clear she hadn't rested well. "Oh, dreadfully," she replied with a sigh. "I hardly closed my eyes all night. Heaven only knows what was in the bed. I feel as if I were lying on something hard and small. My whole body is black and blue this morning." It was simply awful. The moment she said these words, the prince's face lit up with joy. The queen clapped her hands in delight. They knew at once that she was a real princess. Why? Because only a true princess, with skin so delicate and sensitive, could have felt a tiny pea through 20 mattresses and 20 eider-down quilts. No one else could have possibly noticed it. The prince was overjoyed. He had finally found his true princess. He had searched the whole world, and all along she had come knocking at his castle gate in the middle of a storm. He took her hand and asked her to be his wife, and she happily said yes. The wedding was the grandest the kingdom had ever seen. And what happened to the little pea? Well, it was considered so important that they placed it in a museum. It was put inside a glass case on a velvet cushion for everyone in the kingdom to see. And if nobody has taken it, it's still there to this very day. And so the prince and his true princess lived happily ever after, ruling their kingdom with kindness and grace. It just goes to show that sometimes the truest things are not what they seem on the outside, and real quality can be found in the most unexpected ways. Thank you for joining me for this wonderful story. I hope it brings you sweet dreams and a peaceful night. Don't forget to join us again for another story time adventure. Good night and sleep tight.
Thank you for watching Magic Tale World. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more magical adventures tomorrow. See you next time!